to my channel. I cannot tell you how excited I am to be sitting here and filming this video for you guys. You can probably already tell by the pregnant, or if you followed me on my vlog channel, you already know, but I'm pregnant again and I am so excited. I truly feel so lucky to be back here sharing this news with you guys. If you've been following my channel, then you may already know that last fall I did have another pregnancy that unfortunately ended in miscarriage, and I filmed a video sharing my whole entire experience on that for this channel, so if you'd like to go back and watch that and kind of catch up on my whole TTC pregnancy journey, then feel free to do that. And like I mentioned in that video, my husband and I were eager to start trying again for another pregnancy as soon as possible, and so we actually got pregnant on our very first IUI after the miscarriage, and I feel so incredibly lucky to be able to say that because that is the second time that I've got pregnant on the first try, which I know is incredibly rare whether or not you're doing IUI. So even though my last pregnancy did not end the way I would like it to have, I still feel really lucky to be able to get pregnant so easily. So I did start tracking my BBT and taking ovulation strip tests as soon as I thought I was starting to get closer to ovulating again. I did wait after my miscarriage to get one regular cycle back at the recommendation of my doctor. This was to ensure that when I did get a positive ovulation test, it would be slightly more accurate. So I did get a positive ovulation test on January 27th and then scheduled my IUI for the very next day, which as it turns out is the first day of my pregnancy since it was a successful IUI. So since I am pregnant again, I definitely wanted to get back into making bump dates. A few of you may have questions about why I am again sharing my pregnancy so early on when it is normally recommended to wait until 8 to 12 weeks to share the news, and I went a little more into it in my miscarriage experience, but basically I don't want to let fear get in the way of me thoroughly enjoying and sharing this pregnancy, and that's kind of what it boils down to. And so even though my first experience with pregnancy was very difficult, I still want to keep a positive mindset and be excited about this pregnancy, and I've always been looking forward to sharing weekly bump dates and sharing my entire pregnancy with you guys here on YouTube, both to share with other expectant moms and for me to have to kind of look back on and reminisce throughout my pregnancy, or reminisce on my pregnancy once I'm no longer pregnant. So yeah, while this might not be the decision everyone makes, I am more than ready to share my entire pregnancy journey with you once again. Okay, so I'm going to be going over weeks 3 through 5 in this video with you guys. I am currently 5 weeks today, which just feels so crazy to say again, and I have just been loving my pregnancy, and I'm just so in love with this little life that's growing inside of me, and it's honestly been a pretty easy pregnancy so far, I'm happy to report, but I know that that can quickly change at the drop of a hat, so I'm not getting too used to anything. The first thing I wanted to do in each of my pregnancy updates is to kind of read the little blurb that is given to me in my pregnancy app. I have been using and loving the Pregnancy Plus app for both of my pregnancies. I just find that I really like what's included in this app and how it's set up. And yeah, so this is the main pregnancy app that I have been using. However, I do have 5 or 6 downloaded on my phone. But each week they do show you kind of an image of what your baby currently looks like during that week and give you some stats on it, as well as a quick little blurb of what's going on in the week. So for week 3, it was still considered a blastocyst, and it says the blastocyst has burrowed itself into your uterine lining. The cells within the blastocyst now start to separate into those that will either become the embryo or the placenta. And then the cells are continuing to rapidly divide to form the embryo. And then during week 4, following implantation, embryonic cells start to differentiate and separate into an embryonic disc and establish 3 primary germ layers. The first layer will form the digestive system, liver, and lungs of your baby. The second layer will form the heart, muscles, kidneys, and bones. And the third layer will form the nervous system, hair, skin, and eyes. And then during week 5, which was this past week, your little one now has a 2-chambered heart, which basically looks like a tube that is twisted back onto itself. The heart starts beating on or around day 21 after conception, which is day 35 of pregnancy, and your baby's spinal cord is beginning to form, and your baby is growing a thin layer of skin to cover everything up, which is just so insane. I still cannot believe that this early on in pregnancy, the heart and skin are already starting to be formed. It's just so crazy. Pregnancy is crazy. And then another fun thing I wanted to share each week is the size of the baby. So one fun thing about the Pregnancy Plus app is it doesn't just compare your baby to fruit, which is kind of, you know, the normal standard, I guess. But you can choose fruit, animal, or sweets. And so I'm just going to share the most current comparisons for week 5 since there's no need to really go back. So currently my baby is the size of a grain of rice, a ladybird, which I'm not sure why they say ladybird because it's definitely a ladybug, so I don't know if it's a specific kind of ladybug, but the picture shows a ladybug. And then finally, it is the size of a Smartie. So that's been really fun to kind of follow along week by week to see how much the baby is growing and to kind of have a, you know, kind of a relatable comparison to really conceptualize the size of the baby as it grows. Alright, and now we can get into the meat of the update. Let's start off with week 3, and I can go through everything that happened during then. So week 3 was from January 28th, which was the date of our IUI, through February 3rd. So on 0 DPO, so the day I ovulated and the day that I had my IUI, I experienced cramps on the left side of, it pretty much felt like period cramping, but just kind of exclusively on the left side. And I'm pretty sure that would have been ovulation cramps because I can't really think of what else it would be, and that just makes sense because I ovulated that day. I am not too familiar with my body to know whether or not I regularly experience ovulation cramps, but yeah, that's kind of the best that I can come up with to explain that symptom, since obviously it would have been way too early for any implantation crampings or anything pregnancy related beyond ovulation. The day after I ovulated, I was slightly nauseous in the morning and afternoon. Again, this is I feel like it's way too early to start experiencing symptoms like that. However, I believe I was going over my pregnancy symptoms in my last pregnancy, and on 1 DPO, I also experienced nausea. So I don't know if that's maybe like an increase in hormones from ovulation and not necessarily pregnancy, or if I'm just like uber sensitive to paying attention to my body for any slightest pregnancy symptom, but I don't know. Either way, I did experience nausea that day. It was very, very slight though. It wasn't anything like debilitating. It was just very slight nausea. On 2 DPO, I actually ended up taking another ovulation test because I got a little worried that I'd gotten my ovulation date wrong. So I have been taking my BBT for maybe like a year now, and so I'm really familiar with my my body's BBT pattern, and I normally have a very textbook spike right after I ovulate, and it's a very typical pattern of a lower temperature before ovulation, a spike right after, and then remaining high until I get my period when it goes back down. However, on 1 DPO, when it should have spiked, it did not spike, and it continued to kind of not really spike. So I got a little nervous that I had gotten my ovulation date wrong, so I took another ovulation test just to see if maybe I had kind of jumped the gun and scheduled the IUI too early. Luckily, it was negative, and since I had previously gotten a positive, I was pretty confident with the fact that I had ovulated when I thought I had. And so also kind of going back and looking at my BBT about 5-ish days later, I could see that while there wasn't the dramatic increase in my BBT as there normally was, there definitely was a slight increase. So I guess just for whatever reason, my BBT increase wasn't that obvious this cycle. On 4 DPO, I started getting extreme nose stuffiness and runniness and just all sorts of yuckiness. And if you've been following my vlog channel, you know my struggles with this, so this is definitely something I experienced in my last pregnancy as well, and so it was actually the first symptom I experienced this time that kind of made me think that I really was pregnant. So at 4 DPO, I was already kind of thinking that it had worked because my nose stuffiness just started getting so much worse, and it has only continued to be just terrible. I have to breathe through my mouth when I sleep. My nose is just always stuffy and runny, and I'm constantly sneezing and blowing my nose. It's just, I don't know why this is my constant, like, main pregnancy symptom, but it definitely is. And I did look it up last night with my parents, and apparently the estrogen hormone is responsible for it, and so I'm pretty sure I'm going to be stuck with this symptom throughout pregnancy because I don't think estrogen levels ever decrease during pregnancy, so looks like I have 9 months of stuffiness to look forward to. Okay, and then on 5 DPO, I have that I was emotional and had mood swings written down. And while I don't exactly remember what made me write those symptoms down, I feel like I feel like I kind of remember on that day that I was just a little more sensitive and kind of like would tear up at things that wouldn't normally make me tear up, and just, I don't know, I was probably being a little more snippy with my husband, and just stuff like that, but nothing major, and that's not really anything that has continued, luckily. Alright, moving into week 4, from February 4th to February 10th, I have, on 8 DPO, Dakota, my dog, became a lot clingier, and this happened last time as well. Almost exactly, I believe it was also, no, it was 9 DPO last time, and we noticed it on 8 DPO this time, but I also think that's because we knew to kind of look out for it, since we knew last time she was able to sense that we were pregnant, and obviously we wanted to, you know, when you're in that 2-week wait, you are on high alert for anything that could let you know that you are or are not pregnant. So we were definitely paying attention to her behavior and seeing if she became, you know, clingier, more attached to me, more protective, and she definitely did. She would just kind of want to constantly be by my side. She would be a little more protective over me, so if my husband tried to come over and give me a hug, she kind of would try to position herself between us, or just, it's hard to explain, but you could just tell that she was trying to be really overprotective of me. And then on 10 DPO, I started experiencing vivid dreams, and this is something that I also experienced last pregnancy, but I'm pretty sure I forgot to ever mention in my pregnancy updates. This time around, the vivid dreams have kind of seemed to drop off right now. I'm not experiencing as many, but for a while, every single night, I was just having these super realistic dreams where it felt like you were actually just watching a movie. You know, like how normally dreams are kind of abstract and they can jump around and you can't really follow them. Pregnancy dreams are, it's like you're watching a movie in your mind, and you can, you know, see everything as it happens, and it's also really easy for me to remember once I wake up what happened in my dream, and I can have up to, like, I would say 5 like complete storyline dreams in one night and be able to remember all of them once I wake up. Like I said, that's kind of gone away in week 5, but I was definitely experiencing that in week 4. Also on 10 DPO, I gave in and I decided to take pregnancy tests. This was for multiple reasons. So last pregnancy, I was able to get a positive on DPO 11, and so I knew I was probably going to test somewhere around there because my husband and I, again, wanted to test at home. We didn't want to wait until the blood pregnancy test at our fertility center. It's just, I don't know, there's something about being able to, you know, find out you're pregnant in your own home by seeing those, you know, quintessential 2 pink lines, and, you know, so that was something that was important to us. And also, on that day, my husband actually had the day off of work, and so we were able to test together first thing in the morning, which is when you're supposed to take pregnancy tests and when they're most accurate, which is very important, especially when you're taking it extremely early, like 10 DPO. So just like last time, I took a cheap, easy at home strip test, I took a first response, easy response pink dye test, and I took a clear blue digital test. Both the strip test and the first response tests showed faint lines. The strip test was a little harder to read. The first response was very obviously positive, and then the clear blue digital did say not pregnant, but I did a little research after the fact, and the clear blue, the digital tests are just less sensitive. You need more HCG in your system for them to trigger positive, and so that's why that one said not pregnant. Yeah, but the fact that we got the positive on the 2 other tests, we were pretty confident that we were pregnant. And then later that day, I had one more symptom, and that is that I was pretty emotional and sensitive. So I was trying to take a cute little like pregnancy announcement picture for Instagram of me like holding the test and smiling, and for some reason I just could not take a picture that I was happy with. I was just, I don't know, I just did not like the way I looked in the picture. Like either my hair was too frizzy or my smile was weird, or I don't even remember what I was so like upset about, but my husband was so super sweet, and he sat there for like half an hour with me trying to take this picture with every single thing, you know, me going, no, I don't like that, let's take another one, and ending up with not a single picture that I liked. So, and in that process, I ended up in tears. I was just so frustrated and sensitive and hormonal, obviously. So, yeah. I made a joke that if the pregnancy tests didn't tell us that we were positive, the bursting into tears while trying to take a picture for Instagram definitely said we were pregnant. Okay, so moving on to week 5, which is this past week. On 15 DPO, I actually got really sick, and I'm pretty sure it was food poisoning and not pregnancy related, because kind of surrounding the time that I got sick and threw up, I wasn't feeling nauseous at all. It didn't feel like morning sickness or nausea. I felt like I had food poisoning. So I'm pretty sure that's what that was. I wrote it down anyways, just in case it did start turning into a pattern. But yeah, I'm pretty sure it was just food poisoning. Luckily, I was a little worried that day that that was going to be what my morning sickness experience with this pregnancy was going to be like, and I was so scared because I was miserable that day. So thankfully, that has not happened again. Hallelujah. I also had my very first blood pregnancy test at our fertility clinic that day, and the HCG level came back as 318, which my nurse said was well within the range for where I should be. And on 16 DPO, I did experience a little more nausea, but again, it was isolated to that day, and I'm pretty sure it was because I just ate too big of a lunch, and I think I was just full, and maybe because I'm pregnant and have extra hormones that the fullness made me feel nauseous, because as soon as I wasn't full anymore and kind of finished digesting, I felt completely fine. So yeah, and I haven't experienced any nausea since then. So yeah, knock on wood that trend continues. On 7 DPO, I had my second blood pregnancy test, and this time the HCG was at a 670, which my nurse said was, again, increasing pretty much at a textbook level. It's supposed to double every 24 to 48 hours, and mine had almost exactly doubled within 48 hours. And I did schedule a third blood pregnancy test because my fertility clinic wanted me to get over the 2,000 mark before scheduling my first ultrasound with them. That was actually scheduled for this morning, but I accidentally completely forgot about it, did not set an alarm, woke up not even thinking about it, and then realized that I had completely missed my pregnancy test. So oops, is it too early for pregnancy brain? But I have it rescheduled for tomorrow again, luckily, so yeah. But hopefully I am over that 2,000 mark and we can schedule my first ultrasound. All right, and 2 more symptoms that I have written down here that aren't really correlated with any days. I was just kind of trying to think back over the last couple weeks and see if there was any more symptoms that I've been experiencing that I hadn't written down already. So the first one is that I started getting cold again, and I don't remember this happening, but my husband said that I did get colder while I was pregnant last time too, and that I was just constantly more bundled up, and we needed to turn the heat up for me. Again, I don't really remember that happening, but if he does, okay. So yeah, I just feel a little more chilled all the time. It's not too big of a deal, but that's been happening. And I'm also, again, easily out of breath. It kind of, again, shocks me how early this happened, because I would assume that you only start getting out of breath when your uterus or the baby starts restricting space in your body and your lungs just can't expand as much. But this happened last time as well. Around this time, I just get so easily winded, and I'm not sure what causes that. I'm sure I could look it up and figure it out, but as of now, I don't know what's causing that, but I am definitely very easily out of breath already. Okay, so now I want to talk about my weight and give you guys a bump shot and measure my waist. I did these things in my last pregnancy updates, and I want to kind of do this again. I think it'll be fun to see the increase in my weight and my waist. I am a little more apprehensive about doing it this time, I'm not gonna lie, because I guess I'm just not at a very confident body weight currently. So last pregnancy, I was hovering around the 115 mark, which actually is already a higher weight than I'm used to. I was told to gain weight if I wanted to get pregnant. I was underweight, and so my weight could have prevented me from getting pregnant, my doctor said. So yeah, I gained weight. I got up to the 115 mark for my last pregnancy, and then since that pregnancy ended and this one began, I have gotten up to around, I would say on average, the 123 mark, which is definitely an all-time high for me. And while I know is not a crazy high weight, and I'm not, miserable in my body, it's just I'm not used to having this extra weight, and so I'm just not feeling at my very best. And I was honestly even contemplating whether or not I did want to include my weight numbers and showing you my belly, especially this early, because there isn't even a bump yet. But I don't know, at the end of the day, I decided it doesn't really matter. It really doesn't matter, and I'm trying to stay much more focused on what my body is doing rather than what it looks like. And I don't believe that I'm at an unhealthy weight, and so that's the only time when I will really start to worry about my weight, is if my doctor tells me that I have actually gained too much weight to be in the healthy range. But at the end of the day, it doesn't matter as long as I'm growing a healthy baby. And like I said, I do really want to share all these things so that I can see how my pregnancy progresses and to document it. And I just feel like I would be disappointed with myself later on if I kind of let my embarrassment about a little extra weight keep me from recording this special time. So I'm gonna go ahead and do it anyways. So my official pre-pregnancy weight for this pregnancy is 123.6. And then, actually, as of this morning, I am also 123.6. So I have literally not budged an inch in my weight, which is a good thing, because obviously it's way too early to start gaining weight for a pregnancy. At least I'm pretty sure it is. I don't think you're supposed to start gaining weight. I think it's 1 to 2 pounds per month in your first trimester, and then after that it's 1 pound per week. I'm pretty sure that's kind of the rough estimate, but I could be wrong. Don't quote me on that. Either way, at week 5, I have not gained any weight. All right, and now let me just hop up and I will give you guys a bump shot. Okay, so here is what the belly looks like at 5 weeks with clothes on. And from the other side. And then with no clothes. Obviously, like I said, way too early for any actual baby bump, but for progression's sake, here's what we're looking at for week 5. All right, and then like last time, I want to take my waist measurements each week so I can see, you know, as the bump kind of grows, how much it's grown. Oops, other way. Okay, so it looks like we are just around, what would that be? Yeah, 34. It's just a smidge under 34, so I'm just gonna go ahead and call it 34 even. All right, and that wraps up my weeks 3 through 5 bump date. I hope you guys are as excited about this pregnancy as I am and are excited to follow along with this journey. Please give it a thumbs up if you liked it. It really helps out my channel and I would really appreciate it. And don't forget to subscribe down below if you haven't already. I would love to have you following along, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye!